conceded the first round. Well done, sir. Give him a round of applause. Okay, come back again this time. I'm warming up.
Interpretation team at the museum, so I've got to bring this place to life. I want to just show you a couple of sequences using this two-handed sword. Now, I'm going to do a little bit of chatting for a moment, explaining what it is you're using and how it is we are using it. So, both myself and Danny are using versions of the two-handed medieval sword, and we call it a two-handed sword because we're using it with two hands, no trick questions. Now, we all know how a sword is used. You've got two sharp edges for hacking, slashing attacks, and you've got a sharp, fine point for thrusting attacks. But we know that already, don't we? But there are other ways you can use a weapon like this if you decide to change your grip. I know you're thinking, how can you change your grip in a sword when it's got one handle, or one grip? Quite simple. You take one of your hands off the handle and place it on the blade. Now this is a silly thing to do. Don't do it. Only two types of people put their hands on blades: professionals and idiots.
We're idiots.
We're idiots. Yeah. We're not paid enough to be professionals. So, why on earth did you put your hand on the blade? And surely if you did, your hand would just start bleeding and get cut off. Here's the thing, there's a few theories. Theory number one, medieval swords weren't necessarily sharp all the way down. Alright? Imagine this, you're fighting someone that you don't like and you stab them. That far. Chances are they're dead or dying. If you keep on going, they don't get any more dead, do they? So, is there any need to really sharpen the entire length of the blade? In fact, the most useful part of the blade for cutting is only the very end. You can't really use this bit for effect. And then, if you were to grip even a sharp blade, you still might not cut yourself. Not that I recommend you go and do it, of course. But the theory is, even if you're holding on to a sharp edge, providing your hand doesn't slide across it, providing your hand doesn't start that slicing motion, in theory, you shouldn't cut yourself. In theory. And last, but in no way least, if you're placing your hand on the blade, you might be doing it out of desperation. You might have a technique that you know will work if you cut your hand. Here's your option. Cut your hand and win a fight, or die and have beautiful hands. Which option are you more likely to choose? Personally, I would take that risk and cut my hand. But only if you're perhaps desperate, only if the fight really requires it. But by grabbing hold of the blade, you can do a whole bunch of different things. For example, Danny, if you stand in the before, I'm going to ask you to be my dummy. I do use your imagination. So, by shortening the blade, I can be more accurate with it, alright? I basically turn it into a bayonet or a dagger, especially if Danny is wearing armour, you aim for the gaps. Obviously, Danny's not wearing armour at the minute, but imagine he was. He would have a visor, and then get real close and go through the eye. I could maybe go through the chin and the tongue. I could go over the armpits and he goes other areas if I chose. But I won't do that. But if you can place one hand on the blade for attack, you can also place one hand on the blade for defence. Danny, it will be so time to cut me in half. Right. There you go. So, stepping towards Danny, place my hand on the blade, act like a shocking sword. Now, importantly, I'm not wrapping my fingers around, Because if Daddy's blade slid off to the side, my fingers fall off. And that's bad for my hands. Tiny different arms. However, I'm blocked. I'm also not just going to block an attack. I'm more likely to redirect. Once again, nice and close, I can aim for those vulnerable areas. Of course, if I can push the blade one way, I can push it the other way. Exact same thing, pushing the blade to one side. This time, I grab hold of the blade with both of my hands. I can use this like a huge club or pickaxe, bringing that down upon my opponent. Now, in German manuscript, this is called the Mordschlag, which is translated roughly as death stroke or murder stroke. I think you get the idea as to what's happening there, don't you? Bad things happen. Alternatively, I can use the pommel, this large counterweight, which helps balance the weight of the blade itself, and simply strike my opponent in vulnerable areas. Jesus goes to death. All in all, in the right hands, this is an incredibly effective weapon. But how do we know whether such as this to be used in such a way? I mean, do we agree that holding on to something sharp is silly? Yeah, one of you thinks yes. The rest of you think, that's great, let's all go home and do it. Don't go home and hold on to something sharp. It is silly. The reason we know people are doing it, though, is because a variety of manuscripts survive from the medieval period, showing people whipping on to either their own blade or their opponent's blade. Take this one, for example. This is a panel from the Fight Book, or the Fett Book, written by a man called Talhoffer towards the end of the 1400s. You can see quite clearly he's holding on to his opponent's blade. In fact, he's holding on to the sharpest bit, as far as we can tell. So we know that people are doing it. In fact, if you look really closely, you can even see they've drawn the fingernails. So he's not even wearing gloves, as far as this image is concerned. In fact, Talhoffer gives you a whole range of different pictures showing you different techniques you can use in combat, be it in warfare or maybe a duel. So let's look at this one in a bit more detail. So we've got a man in red and a man in blue. The man in red is stood behind his opponent, he's delivering a kick into his opponent's back, and if that's not bad enough, he's got both blades around the blue guy's neck. Let's assume the red guy is winning. How would you do this? How would you do this technique? Well, actually, there's a bit of writing here. So perhaps Talhoffer tells us how to do this technique. But if you read it, what it says is, after seizure of blade, slip through. That's it. Not much at all. Hardly any detail. Here's the thing. Talhoffer does not want to teach you sword fighting using this book. Think of this book as a brochure. Perhaps you'll go to a lord and you'll go, look, this is what I can teach you. Don't look at it too much detail, though. And if you could learn everything from the book, why would you bother going to school? Think about it then. Alternatively, it's a memory aid. Perhaps you've already learned these techniques, and just so you don't forget them, this single image and that little sentence will just help jog your memory. Now, that's great if you've already studied with Talhoffer, but either myself or Danny are that hopeful. So, what we have to do is reverse engineer these techniques and do a bit of experimenting. Now, I think we've figured out this particular technique, and to show you it, of course, I need a man. In blue. Work out alright, hasn't it? So then, Danny, I would like you to come in, relatively horizontal, try and take the head off that neck. First thing I'm doing is stepping towards him, not away. Of course, I'm blocking that attack, the voice is being made short by indeed. From here, I'm able to seize the blade and grab onto it. Now, the writing tells me, after seizure of blade, slip through. I think that means slip through his defense, or possibly slip past damage. Now, if I just charge forward, which I'm going to slap in the face with the crossbar, we'll do it slowly. Alright, so charging forward, smack that. Obviously, I'm being quite nice, I don't really want to hurt him, but imagine if I've used all the force and energy I can muster. I've even struck him in the teeth, the crossguard, maybe even cut his jaw wide open. Regardless, it looks as if I've moved all the way around the back of him, but I haven't, and from here, all I need to do is kick him in the back. Smack! His back arm nicely, and his dead force between the blades, and now it's a simple matter of cutting. we'll put the blood in post. Yeah. It's a simple matter of cutting the neck properly on both sides, and if Danny's still fighting me after being hit in the face with crossguards, kicked in the back, and his neck cut twice, and he's a better fighter than I am, and I need to run away. Real fact. But we don't know if that's true. We only think it might be. And what we've done is we've used Talhoffer as inspiration for our things together. So rather than me just talking at you, we're going to walk through one of the fights that I just won and talk you through the targets and intentions behind each move. Now we're going to start off with a guard, which is a position you can launch an attack or defense from. And we'll begin with the alba, which roughly translates as the fool, the fool's guard. Is it foolish by sword pointing at the floor and not by an opponent? Or is it foolish because if Danny wants to attack me head on that, all I do is break the blade and he walks up to the floor. He would be the fool, not I. Now that's the fight guard. Danny, you know which guard you'll use it?
Okay, so typically if my opponent goes in the low line, I'm going to adopt a high line guard. So this is what we call the crown or the Koeniger guard. Okay, so as my colleague has already demonstrated, going straight forward onto that blade is really, really stupid. So what we're going to do is we're going to do what we call traversing attacks. So we're going to work in a circular fashion. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move, keeping out of distance, and I'm going to try and cut through that femoral artery in the back of his leg. Are you ready?
Always. Well, I step off to the side. First thing I need to do is move out of the way. If the time up there, simply can't hit me. But for added assurance, we're going to bring that fist around, and I'm going to go for that same target, just around the back of the leg.
So this is a pass back. The defence is me getting out of the way. The blade is there as a secondary defence. Continue that circular motion, cut straight down, trying to clean him in two. You ready?
Always. A sloping parry guides his blade away, but it can still see down and do the spin toe. So I'm going to swing around and cut his head off.
Rear traverse, nice guard with the force, the strong part of the blade. Now what I'm going to do is drive that up, clear his blade, slice straight through his stomach.
Now, in real life, my insides would be outside. But for the purpose of this, I managed to leap out of the way, keeping my taut six-pack nice and safe. It does allow me to grab hold of my own blade, so I'm going to use this half-swording technique and go for the right eyeball.
So I'm going to literally retreat, okay, defend with the foible, the weak part of the blade. Again, the distance is the defence. What's he going to do now?
But this is the thing. I'm actually shortening the distance by half-swording, which is what this is called, and I'm now going to surprise him by disengaging and going for a deeper lunge to the left eyeball.
Get out of the way, double quick, and cover his blade in a bind with my blade. Now I'm going to show you something a little bit posher. This is a French term known as the glissade, which is the glide. So I'm literally going to clear the blade, bringing that point straight onto the stomach and make a shish kebab of it.
Right. Let me back up close. Nothing at the side. Swords up high. We're going to end this fight by bringing it straight down to the in two.
Stepping straight through, notice the hanging or the sloping parry. Now I can step forward, use my forward momentum to remove his head.
Well, I head where it is. Now from here, I can do multiple different things. I could seize the blade, slip through, as you saw earlier on. I could do something called a wind, where instead of blocking like so, I block like so. It allows me to instantly turn my defence into an attack. Or, as you saw me do earlier on, so I'm just showing off now, I can seize the blade and use basically leverage against my opponent, knocking his sword free of his hands, and from here I can do all sorts of nasty things. Or ask him to yield. It's unique.
Okay, so that gives everybody the idea of how these techniques are put together.
Yeah.
Rematch?
If you like, yeah, we can have a rematch.
I want to get my own back.
How about
I'll have 2-0, can't I?